2020, the free agency, I think it's set for December 1st. These are the free agent lists, right? Unrestricted free agents, the most important ones, in my opinion. Fred VanVleet, Montrezl Harrell, Danilo Gallinari, Davis Bertans, Paul Millsap, Serge Ibaka, Marcus Morris, Joe Harris, Goran Dragic, Christian Wood, Jeremy Grant. Restricted free agents are Brandon Ingram and Bogdan Bogdanovic, the one that plays for the Kings. And player options are Anthony Davis, DeRozan, Gordon Hayward, Andre Drummond, and Evan Fournier. So I just want to get your take on which free agent do you think can make the most impact going to a new team, and what team would that be?
Well, I think first off, just listening to that list of names, I've seen it, but listening to you say it, that is such a weak free agency class.
Yeah, most def. I feel like every player here that has a player option accepts their option.
Yeah, and Anthony Davis essentially, with his comments yesterday post-game, confirmed that he's going back to L.A.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram, Pelicans are going to match any offer.
100%.
Probably the same thing with Bogdanovic, probably to a certain extent. The best free agents here are Montrezl Harrell, Gallinari, and VanVleet.
Yeah, and to be honest, we've spoke about Fred VanVleet, and I've heard his name floated around with the Knicks, and I just don't know if that's something that they want to get into, paying him, what is it going to be, upwards of $25 million a year? And I just don't know if he's shown you that much yet to be paying him that much money, especially in a position that the Knicks are in, unless they take an approach to their rebuild where they're going to try and take cast-offs and turn them into pieces to rebuild, which it worked for the Nets. So if you can figure out a way to do that, then go ahead with that. But I don't know if he is a difference maker like the Knicks might think he is. I don't know your take on Fred VanVleet.
I think we should get Fred VanVleet. The Knicks should get him. I don't agree with paying him upwards to like $25 million, but maybe like an $18 million contract to 20. Yeah. I'd take it because we need shooting. We need a real legit point guard who can probably play the two sometimes. We just need to build a culture in New York. Knicks fans, people that watch the Knicks and just the Knicks front office in general, they always look for these quick fixes, right? They always look to get these stars and never build a culture. The reason the Nets were able to land Durant and Kyrie is because they built a culture first. You have to get the D'Los and the Dinwiddies of the world to play for your team before you can get the Durants and Kyries. And I feel like Fred VanVleet is one of those culture-building guys. He's one of those guys that's going to come, play hard, and I think he fits right in with what Tom Thibodeau wants to do, play defense and play hard. I think that's what VanVleet is going to do. So, obviously, my first pick I would love Fred VanVleet on the Knicks. Do I think Toronto lets him go? It really depends. But I like Brandon Ingram to the Knicks even more, and I feel like I wouldn't mind them offering him a max.
If you can find a way to get Brandon Ingram from the Pelicans, that is an A+ win. Yeah. But I just don't see the Pelicans letting him walk under any circumstances. But I do really like the point you made about Fred VanVleet and the comparison to the Nets across the city. As much as I don't think he's a difference maker, he can be a difference maker in a sense that he can start to turn things around.
Yeah.
And that is how you end up getting talent in the building. And as for the Nets, I think that one guy on that list that can make a big impact for a good team is Joe Harris.
Yeah, of course.
And a lot of people don't understand how much of a role he played for the Nets, and they think he's just a great three-point shooter, which he is, but he really is a big piece of that team. He defends. He's not a great defender, but he's a solid wing defender, and he really opens up the entire offense because not only does he have that, J.J. Redick come off of screens and find a wide open shot, but he also creates other ways. He goes to the basket. He can finish at the rim at one of the highest levels in the league. And then when he gets to the basket, if there's no lane, he can play make. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the many facets of his game. And if he can get to a contender like the Lakers or the Bucks, if they end up bringing Giannis back, he can play a huge role for a team like that.
So what free agent do you think is going to have the most impact? Like, which one do you think is him going to this team makes them legit contenders?
Well, I think the obvious answer that's not going to be an option is Anthony Davis. That's the cop-out answer. But
unrestricted free agents.
yeah, when you look at the list of guys that are actually going to be available, I believe Montrez was unrestricted. I think that he is the most talented guy on the list. I think he showed some of his deficiencies in his game in the playoffs for the Clippers. So there's a lot to work on there, but he definitely can play a huge role for a good team. He just needs to find the right landing spot. And in a different sense, not even affecting the win-loss column, almost in a way like you said with Fred VanVleet, I think that Goran Dragic would be a huge get for any team in the league looking to rebuild. And he helped the Heat so much in the bridge from LeBron James and the Heatles to Jimmy Butler and what they're building now. And he was willing to accept any role. He was willing to do anything for that team. And year in and year out, he was putting up at least close to all-star numbers. So it's almost like a Chris Paul situation where, you might not be bringing in the best player in the league, but he's going to do whatever he needs to do to help you win while also mentoring the younger guards on your roster. And I think that that is invaluable to a team in a position like maybe the Chicago Bulls, who have a couple of guards that they're trying to develop in Chicago. And there's other teams in that situation, but I think that he can be a great guy to not only help your team win some games, but also, more importantly, develop some of the younger guys on your roster.
I think the most important player for me is Danilo Gallinari. I have him landing in two spots. The first spot is Dallas. I would really love to see Gallinari in Dallas.
It would be a great landing
spot. But I
think
think the most realistic spot for Gallinari is going to Miami. They wanted to trade for him at the trade deadline. They really won Gallinari, and Gallinari is that type of player that could probably take the Heat over the top. Have another score next to Jimmy. They made the finals this past year. They have a great culture already. So if you add Gallinari, a player who could score 18 points per game, I think they have a real legit chance. And Gallinari's even said it. He said that he doesn't care about a contract anymore. He's not in his 20s. He wants to win a championship. So he's already kind of winking at the fact that he'll take the MLE. He'll take the mid-level exception. He won't break a team's bank to get him. So I think him in Miami would be a perfect fit. I like the fit in Dallas because just of all the foreign players that they have. But I think Gallinari probably makes the biggest impact because Fred VanVleet, he's kind of a mystery in what he's going to do, right? Because he's only really played in Toronto's system, which is like one of the best running systems in the league. Montrezl Harrell doesn't really fit today's game, even though he's a great energy player. Gallinari fits. I think he's the best free agent in this class.
And you look at a team like the Heat, like you mentioned, he would slide right into that offense. And you look at even them in the finals, how many opportunities were created for guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, even Jay Crowder was getting wide open shot opportunities. And now if you could replace him with Danilo Gallinari, who can obviously knock down a shot at a higher level than Jay Crowder, that would be a huge boost to their offense.
So for the unrestricted free agents, I actually curated a list on which ones I think who's going to go where. I think Fred VanVleet goes to the Knicks. I do.
If you can get him for around $18 million, I would say that's a win for you guys. But for the price tag that I've been seeing him wanting, I think that is something I would fade for you.
I think Montrezl Harrell goes to the Hornets. I see Gallinari going to the Heat. I see Davis Bertans staying in Washington. I see Paul Millsap going to Phoenix.
That would be a good fit for him.
I see Serge Ibaka staying in Toronto.
I also, not to interrupt, I think Phoenix is a playoff team next year.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how they're going to figure it out because that West is stacked, but I think that they're going to take what they did in the bubble and amplify it on a bigger stage. You look at them this year, and if DeAndre Ayton doesn't miss the first 20 games to a suspension,
they could have made it. Yeah,
it's a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're a playoff team next year, and getting Millsap, who has that experience, would be great for them.
Yeah, he could do what he did for the Nuggets for the Phoenix Suns. So Marcus Morris, they traded a first-round pick for him. I think he stays with the Clippers. Joe Harris stays with the Nets. Goran Dragic, I have him going to the Lakers.
Wow, that would be great for the Lake. He would really be a good fit.
I think Goran Dragic to the Lakers really gives them that scoring punch off the bench, or he can start for them. It really doesn't matter either way. I think that would be a really great fit for him.
Yeah, you look at their guard lineup right now. Avery Bradley, who missed the bubble, and then Rondo, Caruso, KCP, Danny Green. None of them were that good offensively. They each had their nights, and Rondo had some great games. KCP had some great games, but none of them are going to consistently give you solid output every night. And I think Goran Dragic would be a nice change of pace to those great defensive guards where he can pack a punch. Even if it's off the bench, he could probably give you 18 to 20 a night off the bench. Yeah. And that would be a huge help to LeBron and Anthony Davis on the scoring side of the basketball.
So for the last two players, I have Christian Wood re-signing with the Pistons or going to the Knicks because they're really high on Christian Wood.
That would be great. I really like Christian Wood's game.
Yeah, me too.
I think that he took huge strides last year, and I think that he only has more room to grow. And I think he can really progress to be one of the better big men in the game.
And Jeremy Grant, the last one, I have him staying in Denver. I think Denver has to make a decision on whether they want to keep Millsap or Grant because I don't think they can keep both because you have to give Michael Porter Jr. minutes, and they both play his kind of basically wing position. So I think that's an easy answer for me. Take the guy who's shooting 40% from three, damn near, and he's a younger and better defender. So that's why I feel like Millsap walks, and I think Phoenix for Millsap is a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, and I think that Grant is a guy that any contending team in the league should look at because he really does everything. He's not high maintenance. He doesn't need the ball, 30% of possessions. You can ask him to play defense and shoot the three ball, and he will do both of those at a very high level, and that is invaluable in the league today. And I think that any contender should be looking at him very closely.